tell us how the hell you came up with Nutcase.
So I just Googled, like, how do you make nut milk? There's like 2 steps. It was like, put cashews in Vitamix, add water, press go. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, we show up there, they're all like in lab coats.
You've got the Vitamix in your backpack?
Yeah. Hit the button and you just pulverize the shit out of it. They were just dying laughing. I was like, yeah, that's it. Ta-da, Nutcase. Fuck, cashew milk's the best. I love cashews. Seeing the look, especially on like grown men's faces when they would come in and they would see this chocolate milk. And they just like lit up. You would just see their like childlike joy coming through. By the way though, like if this goes anywhere, you have to let us in the first round.
These conversations that you had have been so foundational to the start of Nutcase. What's up, everyone? This is the Nutcase podcast.
I'm a nutcase, I'm a rogue, I'm a misfit, I'm the glitch in the code. Maybe I'm gonna explode.
I'm Charlotte. I'm going to be your host as we interview Joe, the founder of Nutcase, which is the first ever hydration milk. One of the best things about being friends with Joe is I get to hear firsthand some of the most crazy, insane stories, from how she met and married one of the co-founders of Shopify to bringing on legendary gamer Ninja as her co-founder. Our hangouts were never short of me saying, holy shit, and what the fuck, how did that happen? I somehow convinced her to share it with all of you guys. We're gonna go deep and personal, think of a blend between Alex Cooper and Diary of a CEO, all while sharing building out Nutcase from day one.
I'm a freak, like it or not, that's who I am.
So we are back and we're gonna jump right into episode 2. So Joe, tell us how the hell you came up with Nutcase.
Right. So, I mean, I was one of those kids that grew up addicted to Nesquik. And sadly, as I grew up and started reading labels, I was just like, ooh, like I should not be drinking this shit. Not to mention, I just felt like shit afterwards. So I was just constantly looking for a healthier alternative that actually still tasted good, but I just never found one.
Which prompts you to make your own?
It wasn't until COVID, when we had like major lockdowns, that I was stuck inside, bored out of my mind, when I was finally just like, maybe I should just try to make this. So I went in the pantry, saw, trying to figure out what ingredients I had, and we had a Vitamix. So I was like, oh, I think you can make nut milk with this. So I just Googled, like, how do you make nut milk? And of course, because almond milk has always been like the most popular, that's what kept coming up at first. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I remember reading the instructions and it was like, oh, soak the almonds overnight and then you have to strain, because almonds have that like...
Yeah, you got to use the
skin.
Nut bag.
Yeah.
The nut bag. The nut bag.
Exactly. And I was like, I don't have a nut bag. I essentially was like, well, I want this right now. And like, that's too many steps. Like you're talking to ADD girl that can't even like put an IKEA shelf together, right? So I was like, but fuck, cashew milk's the best. I love cashews. What about cashew milk? So I just Google, what about cashew milk? Like, how do you make that? And I read, it was like 2 steps. It was like, put cashews in Vitamix, add water, press go. And I was like, fuck yeah, I can do.
So first concoction was then during COVID.
Exactly.
During lockdown, I assume, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grabbed cashews. I was like, okay, cocoa powder, agave, like what else do I need? A little bit of salt. Let's just throw that in there. Really, honestly, did not think that was going to work. Like for those who don't know, I'm not a cook. I'm not a chef. This should not have worked. So I was probably actually more shocked than anybody when I like poured it into a cup and tried it. And I was like, oh shit, like this is actually something so good.
And were you like inspired in the past with cashew milk ever?
Yeah, actually. So I have tried every milk under the moon, like oat, soy, rice, cow, non-cow, not goat, but Mm-hmm. So I'm agnostic to that, but the first time I tried cashew milk was actually at Juice Standard at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. So for those who know the Cosmopolitan, like there's Milk Bar right here, and then right next to it there's Juice Standard. I was always at Milk Bar, and then I just kept walking by Juice Standard, and then one day I finally, and it's like all these brightly colored juices, but then one day I finally saw these like creamy looking bottles, and I'm like, what's that? And I see it's cashew milk, like flavored cashew milks. I was like, damn, that looks good. So I bought that, and that was like up to that point, that was like the best flavored milk I had, and it was like basically just like basic ingredients. So that's where I got my first inspiration from. Was I was like, okay, cashew milk is dope.
So what's then the next power move, Joe?
Well, so I mean, first of all, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think this is good, but like this is mid-COVID, I'm kind of losing my mind. I'm biased as fuck, so like I need someone to like sanity check me.
Fair.
So I invite Brooke over, who, as you know, has kind of been my partner for a few of my past businesses, and she was actually my partner at the restaurant at the time. So I was like, Brooke, come over. And so she comes over, and I just, luckily she trusts me because I just like hand her a cup of mysterious liquid, milky liquid. And I'm like, try this. So she has a sip, has another sip, and I'm like looking at her. And then first thing she says is just like, you made this? I was like, right?
Baffled.
And she's like, this is freaking good.
Yeah.
And I was like, right? And at that point, my husband Daniel, like, he's like, what are you girls doing in the kitchen? He's intrigued. So he's like, what are you guys drinking? So he has a sip. And obviously, like, this is a guy who just wouldn't touch nut milk normally. So I was like, okay, here's the real test. And even he was like, oh shit, like, this is good.
Okay.
And I
so
was like, okay.
you got your validation.
Yeah.
And then at this point, like, obviously, we weren't even thinking about names. So talk us through kind of like how the name came to be. Were there other names you were playing around with or like on the table?
Well, so, I mean, to back up, the next step, we were like, oh, well, we have this restaurant. Why don't we just like put it on the shelf at Wolfdown and see what happens? We're like, yeah, great idea. And then we realized like, okay, well, like, what are we going to put it in? So we're like, oh, you know, let's just buy some bottles. Like, where do you buy empty bottles? So we Google that, find a big like bottle supplier. But the minimum order you could do is 500 bottles. And I remember we were looking at each other like, do we really think we're going to sell 500 bottles of this Vitamix milk? And we're like, well, fuck it. Like, just go for it.
Yeah.
So these 500 bottles arrive. And then we're like, oh shit, like, I guess we need to put like a label on it or something. So we're like, okay, well, let's just like make some stickers. So I was like, well, what should we call it? And I love branding. I love coming up with names. And so I was like, well, it's nut milk. What are funny words with nuts? And I was like, immediately like, Nutcase. And of course, again, like that pops into my head because it may have been a nickname of mine growing up. May have been called that a few too many times. But I was like, that's funny. Let's just call it that. Okay. So I literally went on PowerPoint and just like designed this label called Nutcase and just printed the stickers and then put those on the bottles. And
so simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it looked really clean too. Like
yeah.
It was so good.
It actually looked pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. So, okay. So you're testing it out at Wolfdown and it's flying off the shelves. Out of the fridge.
Like we had no expectations. And all I remember is like, I kept getting calls from our staff, like late at night, and they'd be like, yo, we're out again. So I'd like run down the street at midnight. We ended up buying a second Vitamix for the shop and just like whipping up more batches, putting them in the fridge. And, so that was pretty cool. And then honestly, the one thing that like really stuck with me the most was just seeing the look, especially on like grown men's faces when they would come in and they would see this chocolate milk.
Cute little bottle.
And they just like lit up. You would just see their like childlike joy coming through. And then when they found out it was healthy and they felt good about it, and they would just keep crushing them. And I was like, that's
feeding
cool.
their inner child. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think they even knew it was nut milk?
Probably not. That's the funniest part. Actually, a lot of people after the fact were like, oh shit, like this is actually made with nuts. That has been the coolest thing, is that everybody who's told us like, oh, I don't drink nut milk, we're like, no, like try this.
So around this time, it was also Uber Eats was reaching out to you?
Yeah, that's a funny kind of side story. Essentially, again, during COVID, I was kind of losing my mind. And the restaurant, like just the margins, everything was pretty brutal. So I was in a mood, and one day I just wrote a blog post titled "Why Restaurants Are So Fucked," and I essentially just really broke down all the costs that go into something.
Was this the first time you've ever blogged before?
I'd like tinkered with it, but this is like the first serious one. And really just like, I was just fucking annoyed with people always complaining about how much things cost and like saying stupid shit like, oh, I could go buy these ingredients at the grocery store. I'm like, no, like, so I was like, this is what labor costs. This is what waste management costs. This is what it, like, there's so many costs you guys have no appreciation for, rent, this kind of stuff. And it's fucking served to you. And like, so I wrote, and I showed exactly what our margins were. And that just went viral. And it was the craziest time because like my phone just blew up. I got asked to be on podcasts like all over the world. It was funny. I jumped on podcasts like in Australia. It just resonated with people. And it was really cool because actually we had so many customers coming in before being like, I didn't get it. Like, thank you for opening my eyes. Anyway, so that was first blog post. And I was like, this shit's fun. Like, what's the other thing people like to bitch about? And I was like, oh, how much Uber Eats costs. So I was like, let me write a blog post about that. So I wrote a blog post called Why Uber Eats is a Necessary Evil.
Okay. Because
at the time, especially during COVID, when no one could come into the restaurant, literally Uber Eats saved us because that's what enabled us to keep delivering and getting our food out to people.
Huge, yeah.
And again, what people just didn't understand is that, like, they didn't wrap their heads around it. Stop to think about, like, all it takes to make this food magically appear on your doorstep within, like, 30, 40 minutes from any restaurant you wanted, like, just like that. That's one thing. And as a restaurant owner, I was like, the thought of having to hire and manage my own fleet of drivers, like, I can't even, like, the amount of fucking work that would take. Not to mention, like, there's no way we could do it this on demand because, like, sometimes 20 people order at once and then other times there's no one for 2 hours. So, like, there's no, like, just, can we stop to appreciate, like, the insanity of, like, the on-demandness and what all of this, like, what Uber Eats has enabled? Because I come from more of the tech side of things and I appreciate tech, and, like, I know I've heard so much of what goes behind the scenes just building something like Shopify. So I'm like, I can only imagine with Uber Eats. So I'm like, you're not just, like, you realize you're not just paying for, like, the guy to deliver it to you. You're paying for all the engineers who coded this miracle thing. So anyway, I just went on a kind of rant about that.
And they asked you at some point throughout all of this for help. Tell us about that.
That's what was, like, the most unexpected thing that came out of that is I got an email the next day after that post went viral from someone high up at Uber Eats. And they were like, yo, we saw your post. We read it. It meant so much to us. We shared it internally with, like, the entire team. Like, we really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, listen, that's really cool. And they were like, we've just never talked to someone a restaurant owner who also, like, appreciates and understands the tech space as well as they do. Because, I mean, let's be fair, it's mostly a pretty, like, archaic industry where it's, like, a lot of mom and pops that aren't as tech savvy. So I was like, look, that's cool. And by the way, while I have you on the phone, speaking of that, like, there's actually things that you could really fix that are, like, because I'm like, I speak your language, like, the UI, the UX, like, there's issues that would be so much better for us as a restaurant when we're on the line. And they're like, oh, interesting, like, tell us more. So they actually ended up hiring me as a consultant to teach their tech guys who, like, these tech nerds who'd never been, like, on the line at a restaurant, just, like, what it's really like.
Unreal.
The screen, like, our back of house screen was just not showing enough of the order in one screen view. So you had, like, say you ordered 4 items, like, I could only see the first one with the details. So like, my staff would have to be trying to make sandwiches and, like, holding it and, like, trying to scroll up and down. And I was like, you guys need to condense that or show more in one view. Yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then another example was, say you order 3 of something. Well, like, that was just, like, a tiny little 3X in the corner that, like, was so easy for staff to miss. Like, they missed it all the time. I was like, guys, like, that needs to be red or big or something. Because, like, I used to tell people, and I would do this as a consumer, is like, if you want 3 of something, put it in your cart 3 times because the restaurant is gonna miss it.
Okay, so tech savvy, the gift that keeps on giving.
It was just, yeah, it was fun, but like so random.
That's so random, but amazing.
Yeah.
And so also at this time, I guess other shops and restaurants are reaching out to you about Nutcase.
Yeah, that again, like so funny. We'd have other restaurant owners and like little retail local shops coming in to Wolf Down. They'd be like, yo, like we love this new drink. Like, where are you guys sourcing it from? Or like, oh, like they had no idea we were just like making it in the back.
So then that must have been a huge like pivotal moment for you to realize, okay, like I'm on to something.
Like all of these things. And that's why, I mean, like you have to test your ideas. So like put it out there, like flying off the shelf, just seeing the feedback and then seeing the demand. I was like, okay, yeah, this is validated. Like we're onto something here. And then that's when I then go from that to being like, okay, I'm going to do my research.
Let's pause there because I want you to give us, I guess, more or less in detail, kind of like how you started from, okay, you've tested it out, you're on to something, like what next? Because we always just assume the founder knows, they just, from there and they're on the shelves. Like, so where's the in-between?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially the first thing was like, I see a real opportunity here. I would love to scale this and build this, but it only has a week of shelf life. So like that is not scalable. So the first question was like, can we make this, can we extend the shelf life? Better yet, could we make it shelf stable? But I didn't know what I was doing. But of course, so I just turned to Google and I was just like, how do you extend nut milk shelf life? And ended up like down a wormhole, learning about something called HPP processing. You put the product in a chamber and subjected to intense pressure, and that kills all the bacteria and shit. So then it's like, it stays good for a lot longer. And I found that there was this facility in Montreal, like at this point, obviously I'm still in Ottawa. So the facility in Montreal that does this, I cold email them, and this really nice man named Pierre writes me back, and we jump on a call, and I explained to him like what I'm trying to do, and he explains to me what HPP is and how it could work, and he's like, this could work, and I was like, really? Okay, cool. Like what do we do next? And he said, well, like you need a co-packer to actually make the product for you. And I was like, okay, cool. So Brooke and I then literally called every co-packer in Canada, and like it's mid-COVID and we were nobody, so no one answered. And so that was discouraging. And finally we went back to Pierre saying like, look, we're not getting anywhere. And he's like, oh, did you know like there's a small co-packer in Ottawa that we do some work with. They do make a lot of products for Farm Boy or something. And I was like, oh. So he's like, let me introduce you and see. So he makes the intro. So they answer. We get on a call with them. And they're like, this sounds really cool. Like, yeah, like, come see us. Why don't you show us how you make it? And then we'll see, like, if there's what we think about how it can be made at scale.
So you go to their facility shortly after that call.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I pack my bags. I got my ingredients.
Okay.
My Vitamix, and it's funny, like we show up there, they're all like in lab coats.
You've got the Vitamix in your backpack?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just like, and like these guys are like very buttoned up and serious scientists.
Yeah.
And they're like, so I show up and I'm like, okay, so I just like start putting things in the Vitamix. I'm like, cashews, agave, salt, cocoa powder, water, and then I'm like, and then you hit the button and you just pulverize the shit out of it.
Pulverize the shit out of it. Very Joe.
Yeah, I know. They were like, is that the technical term? I was like, yes. And by the way, Vitamix, if you want to use that line.
Imagine it's like all over their boxes soon.
Right. Just pulverize. Yeah. Anyway, they just like literally like they were just dying laughing. I was like, yeah, that's it. Ta-da, Nutcase. And they were like, okay.
So what happens next with them?
So yeah, they were like, okay, let's do a test run. They're like, the big thing with this is like for it to go to HPP, it has to be below a certain pH. So we actually have to add like acid to this, and then the HPP will dull the acid, and then we'll taste it after and see if it still tastes good. And I was like, okay. So we do one run with them. It comes back. It's like not that good. But we're like, okay, let's keep trying. And then they just ghost us.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And No email, nothing, just completely.
Like 6 months dark.
Wow.
And at that point, like after whatever, bunch of months, I'm just like, you know what, fuck this. Like it's not going anywhere. These guys suck.
Were you contemplating just like quitting, throwing in the towel at that point?
It's not so much. I never give up, but you kind of just like put things on the back burner for a bit. You're like, this isn't progressing. I'll work on other shit. I mean,
So
the
you
restaurant
shelved
is
it for
still
a bit.
going. So just like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then anything happened for you to kind of like, what was it that kind of pushed you to bring it back?
Two things happened. One, and just in terms of like reigniting the fire, like just confirming for me, I'm like, I need to fucking do this. Is one day I was listening to a podcast with, it was Christina Katosi's podcast, and she had David Chang on as her guest. And at the very end of it, she asks him, you know, what is your like late night guilty treat when no one's looking? What do you grab? And he's like, you know what? I go to the fridge and I steal my kids' chocolate milk. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, exactly.
Sign, yeah.
Exactly. Adults want fucking chocolate milk. Like, Chang knows. So yeah, I was just like, I need to fucking do this.
You love him, don't you?
I am obsessed. For those who don't know, David Chang, it's so funny because I always just like something about his attitude. I'm just like, yeah, this guy. But then I read his biography. And remember, like last episode, I told you about how I was like, we need to have Dr. Pepper at Wolf Down. I don't care what anybody thinks. People tell me that I shouldn't. And then I read his book, and he was like, Dr. Pepper was the only drink they had, like pop, they had at Momofuku in the beginning. Because he was just like, I fucking love Dr. Pepper.
It's like a brother from another mother.
Yeah, I was like, this guy, exactly. I was like, yes. And then I keep reading, and he tells the even crazier story about how after the big success with Momofuku, he had an opportunity and decided to open the second one in Australia. And he's like, at the time, he thought it was such a good idea. And he's like, I even looked on the map, and it was only like this far apart. And I was laughing because that was shortly after I had been like, oh, I've got my Wolf Down in Ottawa. It's a huge hit. Why don't I open the next one in Vegas? Because I spent time there, and like, you know, so I was just like, you know, it made me feel less stupid or similarly, whatever, you know, I was just like, well, you know, we make mistakes. We're all human.
So then I guess you guys, or you rather, this is when Vegas kind of comes into play.
Yeah. I mean, everything happens in Vegas. So yeah, back to Vegas, we decided we're just having brunch with some friends at Catch at Aria. This is our buddies Rich and Jonah, and we had met them through poker and a bunch of
pause for a moment. The amount of people that you guys have met in poker settings is astronomical. And it's typically, I mean, it's not your first place that you would think to network.
As I mentioned, my husband, being German, became really good friends with the German poker pros. They invested in my restaurant. But so Fedor Holtz, one of the top like German poker pro prodigies. So we became friends with him. He was inviting us to hang out one trip in Vegas. And this is funny because this is still like early enough, and Daniel and I's like getting into poker where we were just like still like, oh my God, I can't believe we're hanging with this guy. Like, he's a big deal in the poker world. And somehow that trip, we were at the gym at the same time, and he was filming like this. He had like cameras following him doing like his daily vlog stuff, and they were doing like a fitness one. And I happened to be in the gym, so he's like, hey, you should be in the shoot. So somehow I was like, what world am I living in that all of a sudden I'm in like a fitness vlog with Fedor Holtz? What is happening right now? But the whole point of that story is Jonah was the one filming it. So Jonah was Fedor's like photographer, videographer, and then he became a DJ, and he was best friends with Richard, who is involved with Poker Go Studio, which is where we play a lot of poker.
Okay.
So somehow all those dots connected. Okay. We became friends with those two. We're like, yo, let's have brunch. So we're at brunch. We're just
So you're at brunch with Rich and Jonah.
Yes.
And what's the conversation like?
And we're just talking about poker startups and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, Rich brings up, he's like, oh, yo, like, what's this chocolate milk I keep seeing on your Instagram? He's like, I love chocolate milk. That looks so good. So I was like, oh, that, yeah. So I tell him the whole idea behind Nutcase, the whole story, and how we weren't getting anywhere, but how I saw like this massive opportunity. And that's when all of a sudden they just kind of dropped the fact. They're like, oh, by the way, we launched a VC fund that backs CPG companies. And I was like, wait, what? Like, where'd that come from? But they were like, there's this one brand, Mescla, the founder, Griffin, is fucking boss. He's awesome. But they were using this ops guy who really helped them like find their co-packer and find all of this stuff. So like, maybe he can help you out.
So you connect with Griffin.
So yeah, they're like, we'll make the intro.
Okay.
And at this point, I was still like, sure, like, why not? But really still not thinking like anything's going to come of it. But the funniest thing is right before, like as we're wrapping up brunch and right before we leave, they actually stop me and they're like, by the way, like, we'll make the intro. By the way, though, like, if this goes anywhere, you have to let us in the first round. And I was like, yeah, like, of course, sure, yeah, sure, guys, like, deal.
I know it's such a cliche thing to say where it's like the right conversation at the right time, but like these conversations that you had have been so foundational to the start of Nutcase.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then what happens after that? You connect with Griffin and then...
Yes, I jump on a call with Griffin. He's fucking awesome. He tells me all about David Boyle, who's a consultant. He owns Boyle Brands, and essentially that's what they do is they help CPG startups with their just getting everything set up, like all the operational backbone you need. So I was like, man, like that sounds awesome. I'd love to chat with him. So he introduces me to David.
So it's happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have one call with David. He loves it. He sees the potential. And then just like everything starts coming together. And all of a sudden, to the point where like it just happens so quickly. And next thing you know, I'm on, like, I've got all these doors open. And you're like, oh, like, I guess we're doing this. Really, the moral of this story is like, one, if you have an idea, validate it first and foremost. And then talk about it, share it. Like, none of this happens if I don't just put it on the shelf and see what fucking happens. Yeah. And if I don't put it on Instagram so that random people can see it and then talk about it. So like, fuck this stealth mode, fuck NDAs. Like, if you don't talk about it, you're never going to put the shit together that you need for it to happen. So when people say, I don't like nut milk, most of the time it's because they've had almond milk. And like, let's just be real. Almond milk is fucking bland and watery and it's garbage and it's given all of nut milks a bad rap. So like, seriously, fuck almond milk. Cashews are where it's at, and we're gonna.
They're just so much creamier. And like, you know, for myself as a coffee drinker, like I would not ever put almond milk or oat milk in it. I can't do either, but cashew all day.
I mean, and that, let's be real, like, yeah, cashews are rich and creamy naturally, like, and they're fatty naturally. Yeah. That's why you don't need to put all of this other shit, like oils in it, because like like oats are not fatty. That's why they have to put oils in Oatly.
Compensate.
So like, we just use the natural shit and like actually use enough nuts so that we don't need all the other garbage in there.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. So guys, that wraps up our second episode. We're obviously a new podcast, so all the love helps. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you guys next time.